Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's latest live broadcast. Today, it is Tuesday, the 1st of August, 2023. My name is Kerry Holzman, and today I've got a review of a new mini PC, the CK11 from AceMagiCIan. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone who's contributed even before the stream started. So, very quickly, let me say thank you to Frankie B, who sent a $50 Zelle contribution. And I also want to say thanks to the Super Chat contributions that have come in from Paul O'Brien with €2. He says, Daddy, it's your long lost son. Hey, I didn't get any Father's Day cards in the mail this year, so I don't know about that. Paul O'Brien has now been a member for 2 months. Right on. Thanks for continuing to support the channel, son. And our good friend Buster, Peter Laycock, with a 10-pound contribution. Good evening, Carrie and Marlena and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh is 59 degrees Fahrenheit. It was 58 yesterday, wasn't it? It's 15 degrees Celsius and expecting rain tonight and tomorrow. There was some discussion of us getting some storms, but so far we just had a little lightning. We could sure use it to bring those 109, 110 degree Fahrenheit temperatures down here in the Phoenix Valley. Alan Lindos contributes $7.77. Alan joins us all the way from Casa Grande. He goes, time to send in my early fee, Carrie. If you want, use some of my early fee for a Gatorade. Please do so. Right on top of you. Thank you, Alan. And our friend Rick Lakes joining us from Minnesota contributes $10 and says hello. Welcome in, Rick. Always good to see you, my friend. Douglas Burchell has continued his membership as well and has now been a member for a full month. He says, what a great day to be a member. Hi, Carrie and Camera Girl and chat. And of course, our good friend Planet Cryos, who shares some of his videos from his YouTube channel here on our channel. And show him a little love. Go over to his YouTube channel, subscribe, and watch his videos. Not right now, but you know, when you're done, when we're done here. Thank you, Planet Cryos, who contributes $3 via Super Chat. No Camera Girl today. She's given the day off. She needs a carry break. And I want to look at the Amazon website for this product, the product page on Amazon for the AceMagic. I can't really tell what's going on with regards to AceMagician, AceMagic. As far as I can tell, it's all the same company. I'm not quite sure about the rebranding or what's behind that. But initially, when I did the video description, I did write AceMagician. So you might have got a notification that's, you know, in the title said AceMagician, and then later you'll see it was edited to AceMagic because I only noticed that discrepancy after I had already set the video up. So, you know, didn't mean any harm by that. Hopefully that doesn't upset them. I just want to make sure that I get the naming correct. It is still the same company, so just be aware of that. Camrui, AceMagician, AceMagic all seem to be the same company. So if you're worried about quality or warranty, as far as I can tell, it all goes through the same place. Mark Gaines, joining us from Northern Ireland with a 10-pound contribution, says, hello, Carrie and Camera Girl. Cheers, Mark. Thank you so much for your contribution and your continued support of the channel here. We try to be as sponsor-free as possible while bringing you content almost on a daily basis. Needless to say, it's extraordinarily expensive to make the content. And while I'm making content, I'm not earning any money aside from the 10th of a penny YouTube pays me for your view and any contributions that you so generously volunteer to help cover expenses. So I thank you all for keeping this channel alive and very active, and more importantly, for being a part of this amazing community. Those of you who watch who are not participating in our chat room during these live videos are missing half the experience. And I do hope that even if you don't consider yourself to be a social person, you'll consider hanging out in our chat room and at least saying hello. We just want to see more friendly people hopping into the chat room. All you got to do is not be a jerk. So yeah, if you want to be a jerk, you can go somewhere else. But other than that, you're all welcome into the chat room. We'd love to have more like-minded individuals in this amazing community and watch it flourish. Sarge Tech said, I sent you an Amazon gift card. He did. Sarge Tech sent a $5 Amazon gift card. Thank you so much for that, Sarge Tech. He's been contributing those frequently. And my bad for slipped my mind. I did send you a thank you on that, and I also got an email from Alan Lindas, who's in the chat room. He tested out the Beijing 4 terabyte drive, and he's been very impressed with it so far with regards to its performance, temperatures. Now, I haven't tested the Beijing 4 terabyte drive, but tell you what happened yesterday in the members only video. I was showing off some of the more current mini PCs I've been testing, one from Dell and two from HP, a 10500 from HP, 12500 from HP, and a 13500 from Dell. And the worst one is the Dell. Don't buy any of these mini PCs from Dell. They look like, got one over here, kind of like these. That's the HP. This one's the Dell. I thought, this was an older model Dell. And I thought, if the HP machines are so good, I wonder how the Dells are. And it was terrible. So then I thought, well, let's see how they've evolved over the years. So I bought a current model Dell. Doesn't get much more current than the 13500. It's got no USB-C port, only Gen 3 NVMe, and only one M.2 slot. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The HP 12500 has two M.2 slots with heat shields, and it runs Gen 4 NVMe, and has USB Type-C, and it's just built better. So I was explaining how that 12500 was my new favorite of that style. That's called a 1 liter mini PC. And as soon as I got done with the broadcast, I got a phone call, and a viewer wants to buy it. So, of course, I should be careful, right? It is my favorite one, and I said as much. So I guess if I want to sell something on the channel, I just need to tell you it's my favorite. I don't hand out praise like, very often. So I said, yeah, look, it's no problem. They make a lot of, HP makes a lot of these 12500s. You can pick them up on eBay around $600. And then I put 64 gigs of RAM. No, I'm sorry. I put 32 gigs of RAM in it. That's DDR5. That's right around $100. And I put in a 2 terabyte Samsung 990, which is around $150. So for right around $900 with sales tax, you are looking at a rocket ship of a computer. It's dead silent, very compact, very small. And so I went and ordered another one on eBay. So I have it in anticipation to sell the one that I showcased yesterday, then immediately replace it with another one, and then I'll do the RAM and storage upgrade here on camera in a future video, maybe next week. So just so you know, that's what's going on. Avery Ramstorff sent an Amazon gift card of $6. Right on, Avery. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. And a $1 contribution from Avery in Super Chat. $5 from Planet Cryos in Super Chat. He says, as Mortant 1210 said, PK in the house. Carrie always has good videos, but since I don't drink caffeine, Carrie is in its place. your caffeine. Oystein joins us. We have two Oysteins, interestingly, in our chat room. Both are from Norway. One spells Oystein with a capital O, and one spells Oystein with an O with a strike through it. I don't know what that's called, what that letter O is called. So we have the Oystein with the capital O in the chat room. And we have viewers all over the world watching us, whether it's Peter Laycock in Scotland, Oystein in Norway, Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland. Luke Greenia joins us from Vermont, and Rick Lakes from Minnesota. But we also have viewers in, of course, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Sometimes we get viewers from Thailand, as well as some of the Caribbean islands. So it's always thrilling for me to see these live broadcasts going out around the world. You know, back in the 80s, this would cost $9.99 a minute. Just saying. You'd have to enter in a 13-digit MCI code before you could make the call. Good times. We've changed a little bit. Luigi Corleone joins us from Germany. There we go. And BH Ringer from Nova Scotia. First day with my new lips. Nova Scotia, Canada. I can say that. Shane Perkins said the theta Greek letter is the O with the strike through it. Does it have a name? Or is that its name? Theta. That doesn't sound right. And Edgar says, Carrie, enjoy pay-per-view Mondays. So basically, the videos that are made possible for people to watch for free are done so through the generosity of others, a very small percentage of others who contribute to the channel and make this possible. I don't live with mom or dad. That'd be tough since they're not around anymore. But you know, the rent and the electric bill and food and all the equipment that I need, the broadcast, the internet connection, the phone, it costs money. And I don't know where people think that money's coming from. But I'll tell you one thing I don't have a lot of patience or tolerance for are people with entitlement. As YouTube continues to degrade the value of a viewer, the viewers themselves, if they don't step forward in helping to contribute, then the channel will not be able to produce as much content, right? I mean, I have a day job of fixing computers, and I make a choice, a voluntary choice of volunteering my time on this channel to help spread my knowledge, or I can choose not to. No one's forcing me to do this, and I'm not getting paid to do it as much as what people think. And basically, through the contribution and support of my kind viewers, there are some viewers who seem to feel an entitlement that these videos are owed to them or that they require their approval. And yet it's disappointing to me because I would hope that everybody was appreciative, and especially appreciative of those in the community, that very small percentage who contribute, because without them, you'd have no video to watch at all. So you'd have to complain somewhere else. So in any event, because of those people going above and beyond what most viewers do, I go above and beyond for them. And if you wanted to go above and beyond for me, I would go above and beyond for you. So it's, you know, before you ask for something, offer something. And if all you're doing is taking, and then you're complaining about what you're taking, or you don't think it's fair that other people get more than you get when they're contributing and you're not, I don't think that this channel would be the right place for you to be. That's all. There's lots of other YouTube channels to choose from, and we definitely want to have like-minded and kind individuals in our chat room. So if you're not that, I don't think you're going to be very happy here. So in any event, Planet Cryo says, sorry, that was Sarge Tech that said PK in the house. Well, see, it's not easy doing this job, is it? Thank you, Planet Crafts, for your $5 super chat. And what else we got going on here in the chat? Old Man 55 says, you know, Kerry loves what he does because he's put up with a lot for over a decade. Well, yeah, I've been doing this business for over 30 years professionally. And, you know, when it comes to just regular customers face to face, there can be challenges. When you get people online, people say things online they'd never say to your face, you know. And there is sometimes a level of entitlement that I don't think people really think through what they're saying. Because if they get what they want, it essentially means nobody gets anything. And I just can't imagine what good, how you could sleep at night knowing you're causing destruction rather than building up something, you know? So regardless of that, we're certainly happy to have the members that we have and the amount of people we have that are, in fact, like-minded. And we'll do our best to tolerate or ban people who are trying to poison the well or use my own platform to discourage people from my platform. You know, they could do that on their platform. That don't stand on my stage and talk to my audience negatively about me. First of all, it's undignified, and secondly, it's profoundly disrespectful. So, this has been going on since day one. And if any of those people had the guts to put themselves on camera, well, I'd certainly respect them a lot more. But given that they've never have done this, they have no clue what they're talking about, and it's very unjustifiable. But it is what it is, and it will always be. There's always that person, that guy. It's always there, and it just comes with the territory of this. And anybody who does this would understand that. So, in any event, I want to get on with today's show. If you're enjoying the content, hit that thumbs up button and let me know that you want to see more content like this. And let's see what else I'm missing in the chat. I think I'm caught up. Now, Mats Olof joining us from Sweden, another country we're broadcasting live in. All right. And there's Frankie B joining in the chat, and Andy Kane. Welcome in, guys. Bill Knott says, great content. Thanks, Carrie. Well, it's very kind of you to say, Bill. Thank you. All right. So now what I want to do is go over to the Amazon page where this mini PC is listed so we can get an idea of what's in this box. Oh, excuse me. As you can see, the box is still shrink wrapped. I've not opened or prepped for this in any way. The video is live, unscripted, and unrehearsed. As always, sometimes I'll take the mini PCs out, and get them updated. But things have been extremely busy here. I'm still trying to get 4 more of the giveaway computers shipped out. And again, thanks to our community for making these giveaways possible. I'm not aware of any other YouTube channel that has given away as many computers as we have here. And that number's only going up. We still have another 20 or 30 more giveaways to go. And so when people misbehave, they basically forfeit their opportunity to receive anything, which is a real shame. So, not enough they're getting the free content, but they get a free computer on top of it, and they still find space to complain. Wow. Anyway, let me go over to Windows Capture. There it is. That's what I wanted, and that should bring up the Amazon page. Now, this mini PC is an Intel i5 11th gen. It's the 11320. It can go up to 4.5 gigahertz. It's got 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM installed, 512 gig M.2 SSD, and Windows 11 Pro is already installed. It supports 4K video output. It has Wi-Fi 6, which also has Bluetooth 5.2. It supports dual HDMI output. Of course, it's got a LAN jack. It's not just Wi-Fi only. It has USB 3.0 and a VESA mount for mounting on the back of the screen. But here's the deal. Literally, here's the deal. $329 with a $30 coupon takes this to $299. It says it's a lightning deal that is 73% claimed. All right, so this isn't like a bottomless pit. It's hard to believe we are living in a time where you can get an entire computer for less than the cost of a CPU, like a desktop CPU. And you're getting a CPU, a cooler, a motherboard, RAM, storage, operating system, power supply, case, and Wi-Fi card, all for under $300. These are good times we're living in, let me tell you. There's some pictures of the unit there, and it will support up to 3 monitors at the same time. Now, it is Wi-Fi 6, not 6E. And it's Bluetooth 5.2, not Bluetooth 5.3. So it isn't the best money can buy. However, it may be the best you can buy for the money. So that is how they're promoting it here. And I've just basically copy and pasted all this information into the video description below the video. And a link to this Amazon page is also in the video description below this video. If you use that link to make a purchase, I make a very small commission. And I don't know who you are or where you are. All I know is what was sold for what price so that Amazon can justify to me what my commission earnings are. I don't know who you are or where you are. So it's a nice anonymous way to support the channel. And you don't even have to buy things that, like if you clicked on the link that brought you here, but you weren't ready to make a purchase yet. But while you're here, you go up to the search engine and you type in, I don't know, you need back to school supplies. Anything you buy on this browser visit is still going to cost you the same. The shipping's all the same, but I do make a small commission literally on any purchase during the browser visit from my link that took you to Amazon. And again, a very nice anonymous way to support the channel. And once again, nothing I'm getting rich off of, but at the same time, every little bit helps and it all adds up. Now, let me get back over to camera one. There I am. And as you can tell, we've got the new camera set up now. Those of you who joined me yesterday, we played around a little bit with the color on it. You noticed the image is a little sharper, or I don't know, maybe you think the image is worse. Let me know what you think. We're now on the Sony camera, a pricey one at that, and one that's made possible by our good friend, Peter Laycock. So once again, a huge, huge thank you to our good friend out there in Scotland. Now, if I go to, let's see, just looking here in the chat. Giordani wants me to check my phone. All right. I will do that. Giordani is another great member of this community who joins us from New York. Giordani sends $20 via Zelle. Right on. Thank you so much, as always. Also, a couple of Amazon gift cards have come in. Ron Barnish with a $10 Amazon gift card. Paul O'Brien. I got to read that one in a second. Brian Kirby sends $5 via PayPal. And oh, he's helping me identify the two Oysteins. It does get confusing for me. So thank you, Paul O'Brien, for your $10 Amazon gift card and for helping me identify the Oysteins. They're all welcome here. I like them both, obviously. Kelly Stewart with an Amazon gift card of $25. He says, I hope you can use this. Absolutely. Thank you, Kelly. And that does catch me up on the messages. And thank you, each and every one of you, for, once again, supporting the channel. Now, let's see. How much do I make from clicking the link? I don't make any money from you clicking the link. When you get paid for click-throughs, that is essentially like when you click to watch this video, there's a certain amount. It's a fraction of a penny. I'm not sure what it's under 1/10 of a penny. And then the longer you stay, the more that starts to crank up. So YouTube is about watched minutes, not necessarily about views. But when you look at your analytics, you'll see how many views you've got and how much money you've earned. And so it's very easy to correlate views with money by averaging out the view minutes watched. Now, other types of advertising where there are banners and you got to click on the banners, there's two different payments on those. That is, when you click on the banner, the company paying for that will pay a couple pennies. And then if you make a purchase after clicking on the banner, then the company, it's hard to explain this. The company that makes the sale pays the advertising company more if the advertisement resulted in a sale. So the advertising company makes a small amount on a click. Yeah, they're going to charge a small amount just to display the ad. And then if you click on the ad, they charge a different amount. And then if you make a purchase as a result, they charge the other company for the advertising more. So essentially, there's three different ways that people are billed for advertising. What we do here on Amazon, well, both on Amazon, but here on YouTube, is we're more or less sponsor free. I don't have a traditional sponsorship setup. Companies that want us to review their products, if we're interested in their products, may reach out, or we might reach out to them and send us a product for free in exchange for the exposure to a very highly targeted and engaged audience. This product here was sent to us from the folks at AceMagic, just for full disclosure. I did not buy this. Those HP, 1 liter PCs, all of these have all been purchased using revenue generated from your contributions and some sponsorship revenue from the non-traditional sponsorship we have. That's folks like RoboForm that are offering you guys 30% off if you're a new RoboForm customer. Anytime somebody signs up for RoboForm using our link, somebody who's never had RoboForm before, RoboForm pays us. But just by clicking on the link and going there, nothing. We don't get paid anything. It's sort of a pay for performance kind of sponsorship deals that we have worked out with literally everybody. If it's Acronis, Malwarebytes, the Windows and Office license keys, the more you guys buy, the more money the channel gets in commissions. More traditional sponsorship is more like a TV commercial, where an amount is charged to create the commercial. They call that a pre-roll. Oftentimes it's a pre-roll, and it's an advertisement. It's a commercial in the regular sense of the word. I don't know how impactful those really are in resulting in sales, but it's kind of like shooting arrows in the dark. You don't quite know if people are skipping past it. Sometimes there's integrated ad placements that people will do. And of course, those cost more money because someone's got to pay to make the video. And then you got to pay to air the video. No differently than a commercial on television. Someone has to write the commercial, film the commercial, edit the commercial, sound mix the commercial. And that costs well over $100,000 for a short commercial. Once you've got that commercial, then you pay entities to air it. And depending on what time of day and how popular that channel is at that time of day, determines the ad rate. It has nothing to do with results. That's how it is. That's what you pay. Everybody pays the same. With YouTube, companies want to see results, right? And I don't want to get involved in letting companies down if the results aren't what they were promised or what were expected. So this way, I think it's a fair system all the way around, that if you guys take advantage of one of the offers we have specifically for you guys, then we get a little kickback from that and the company gets a new customer. There's something called customer acquisition cost. And every company knows that number. If they're a big company, whether it's a credit card company, if you're in business, you have to get customers. It costs money to go and get those customers. It's pretty unusual for customers to just find you on their own. And so we're trying to do things a little differently here, in the sense that we don't want to beat you over the head with commercials. And furthermore, it's not really what I want to do. As a professional computer technician, I don't want my integrity questioned, or for me to appear biased to a manufacturer that is paying us, unless I'm already biased because I like the product. So the Windows and Office license keys, I use those in my real business for my real customers, and I have for years. RoboForm is something I've been using for over 15 years. Acronis is a product I've been using since at least 2009. So of course, I want to reach out to these companies that I rely on in my business. And I've reached out to many more. But these are the ones that have agreed to work with us. And we're very happy and honored to have them with us. So just to clarify, that's how we try to bring income in a way that's not so in your face commercialization. So in any event, check my phone one more time. We'll get this package unboxed and see what's inside here. Just want to make sure I'm all caught up. Holy cow. A nice contribution once again from our good friend, Peter Laycock. He says, this is for anything you need, from your friend Buster. Buster, thank you so much. I'm just running out of ways to say thank you. I cannot express my gratitude for the generosity from our good friend Peter Laycock. And I've got to tell you that this would be a very different channel without him. So if you see him in the chat room, be sure and say hello and say thank you. if when we talk about sponsorships, the closest thing we have to a real sponsorship is Peter Laycock, and he's not selling anything. It's very strange. But of course, our deepest gratitude to our good friend Buster. That's what we call Peter Laycock. Call him Buster. All right, let's get this opened and see what we got in here. You guys rock. Thank you for acknowledging Peter's generosity. If you had only known, if there was only some way I could tell you every video that would not have happened without Peter Laycock, I think you'd be quite shocked just how involved he is in this channel. Let's see, how do I open this box? Step one, be smarter than the box. There we go. Product specifications, I guess they use the same box for the CK10, CK11, TK10, and TK11. So they just check the box, what's inside for each one in order to avoid having to spend money on different boxes, right? If we can repurpose the same box, makes it cheaper. That means they can sell it for less and you can save money. Here's our instruction manual. And inside, it looks like this. Take this out, set it right over there. Styrofoam. Then we have this box right here, which is going to have our power supply, power cable, and a little baggie that keeps things from moving around in there during shipping. We've got some screws. We've got a Mickey Mouse power cord. We've got an HDMI cable. We've got our power brick with a barrel style connector. And we have, came out of its bag, we have a metal VESA mount. And this is used if you want to hang the mini PC behind your monitor or hang it on a wall, hang it at the side of a desk. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put the power cable back in there since I already have a regular, it's pretty standardized power cable. And I don't need the HDMI cable, and I will not need these screws. And then we'll put this back in here. Now, this power supply has no name on it. And I have to warn you that if over the years of ownership, you've put this in a box or set it aside somewhere, you got to be very careful with which power plug you plug into these devices, because the wrong power plug could create a fire, or at the very least, let the smoke out of it. We all know it runs on smoke, and if you let the smoke out, it won't work anymore. So it always disappoints me when companies don't put their name on the power supplies. On these mini PCs, a lot of times they're buying the power supplies from a power supply manufacturer, and they're not branding them. So what I'll do is I will grab my label maker or a silver Sharpie, and I will simply write on it. In this case, we have a CK11, so we'll I'll write CK11 right there on the side of it. And that way, if these two ever get separated, like let's say I end up going to a Studio C and all this has to get packed up, I do my best to put everything back in the same box. But if for some reason boxes spill open, I've got a bunch of these power bricks, it's a lot more research to figure out what the wattage, voltage, and polarity is on each one. Just because the barrel connector fits does not mean you have the right power adapter. All right, let's take the plastic cover off here. Paul O'Brien contributes €5. He says, that's right, folks. Carrie only gets 1% of one set, i.e. one tea leaf from my bag of tea leaves. Now make me a cuppa. I don't really think it adds up to that much, to be honest. I think a tea leaf would be more. All right. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just sharing with you the challenges behind the camera that some people never stop to consider. And because of that, I feel the need to have to explain it, although those of you who contribute obviously know and understand what I'm up against. The people who take what's being offered for free, give nothing, and then complain, they don't have a clue as to the risk I'm taking doing this financially. You know, my hope is that things will turn around. Something will happen and an opportunity will open. Until then, it's sort of getting by every day, waiting for that ship to come in. So far, it hasn't happened, but you know what? With your support and with nothing else, with your kindness, certainly makes it worth doing. Louis Grego with a £5 contribution says, hello, Carrie, and everyone in the chat. I hope everyone is well today. Well, I'm doing well. I hope you are. Thank you for supporting the channel, Louis. I'm going to bring this up to the camera, and we'll take a close look at what we got here. Now, this camera, I don't think the autofocus is turned on. Let me see if I can turn autofocus on. Just bear with me for a second. It's a new camera, and I'm not quite sure where all the buttons are. Okay, I think this is going to work. All right, so here's the front of the unit. Kind of like the texture of it, kind of a rough texture. So that should hide fingerprints really well. It's kind of a gray color. We've got our power button with a green sticker next to it for some reason. We've got a audio jack here, what looks like a recessed CMOS reset button here, or system reset. 2 USB 3s and a USB Type-C. Over here, a VGA cable. This could be very useful if you have an older monitor. It's pretty unusual to see that on systems today. Come around to the other side and just have vents. And then if we look on the back, we've got 2 more USB Type-Cs. We've got our 2 HDMI outputs. We've got our Ethernet. And we've got our power plug right there. This down here is called a Kensington lock. This is, you can use a steel cable to bolt this down if you're in a place where you're afraid this might grow legs and walk away. We've got some Go Faster stickers on the top. And hopefully I haven't broken the focus, but we'll find out when I step back. If it's, whoops, I have some bubble wrap on the floor. I just stepped on it and it scared me. All right, hopefully that's just auto-focusing now. Let's take a look at the inside of it and see what it's made of here. I'm going to grab my JIS screwdriver, the Japanese industrial standard. Just has straighter edges and more narrow edges on the Phillips screw compared to, say, an American Phillips #1, and it just fits better. So a lot of times on this equipment coming from Asia, when they have those small Phillips screws, get yourself one of these JIS #1s, and much easier. No struggle to get those off. Okay, well, it looks like by removing these 2 screws, it looks like the Intel sticker might be kind of sealing the 2 pieces together there, because it looks like it wants to slide back and then off. There it goes. And inside, we've got room for a 2.5-inch drive. And if we take this part out, again, there's 3 screws here. 1, 2, and 3. So you can add a 2.5-inch mechanical or solid state drive. Now inside, let me bring this up to the camera. This is decked out really nice. As you can see, we've got our Wi-Fi card here, our CMOS battery taped up against the side. We've got another M.2 slot that's empty, so you can add another M.2 drive. This is the M.2 drive that it includes with the heatsink on it. And then we've got our two RAM modules. Obviously, this supports dual channel. And if I rotate this the right way, you'll see there's two sticks, 8 gigs each, made by Lexar. So everything you need to get at, it's very, very easy. And you can see the back panel exposes the ports that way, but very easy to get into, very, very upgradable. There is some tape on the SATA connector if you're going to use a 2.5-inch drive in there. And that's obviously what that bag of screws is for, not only mounting that VISA bracket, but also for mounting, securing a drive into this tray, you know, if that's something you want to take advantage of. So for $299, to have it this upgradable is almost unheard of. A lot of times on the budget end of these mini PCs, a lot of things are soldered down, and a lot of options for upgrading aren't possible because the sockets cost money. It's cheaper and more reliable to solder stuff down. It does make upgrading impossible when they do that, but you know, if most people don't upgrade their machine anyway. But I like that you can add a second M.2 in here. Let me put it back together. Let's turn it on and see what kind of performance numbers we get out of it. Typically, you're going to get a mid-range storage and mid-range RAM. That's pretty typical on this. And they do that in order to make it much more affordable. When you go up in performance even a little bit, it makes a significant increase in the price. It's not really, you know, you start losing value, essentially. You pay a lot more to effectively get a little tiny bit less. But this is something you could buy. You could upgrade it to 64 gigs of RAM. You could put 2 sticks of 32 in there for $100. And yeah, you could change out your M.2 to a 4 terabyte M.2 if you wanted to. The Fengjing M.2 we were talking about, where Alan Lindis had wrote in about his experience. It's $199 for that 2 terabyte Fengjing M.2 NVMe drive. And there is a QR code on the front of the unit for using WhatsApp to contact customer service, since they are located in China, Hong Kong. All right, so with that being done, let's hook it up. I've got my barrel connector here we can plug in. And I've got my Mickey Mouse power cable. Just steal this one. And then I don't want to plug it into the network yet because we have to go through the Windows 11 setup. But I will need a keyboard and a mouse, which I have back here. And my dongle for the keyboard and mouse I'll plug in right up front. And let's see what it's like. Are you ready? Here we go. Let me go over to my HDMI input first. HDMI input. I'm going to put myself in a corner here. Oh, right about there ought to be good. And 3, 2, 1, power. There is a small LED on the front for power. There is no hard drive activity light or any other LED. No RGB, no liquid cooling, no nonsense. I like it. We're off to a good start with this, and a very, very attractive price point. I can't stress that enough. It's hard to believe we're standing here talking about a very respectable amount of performance, storage, and RAM with a modern operating system that meets all the requirements of that OS, such as a TPM module, all for under $300. That's insane. My first computer cost me $1,200, although that did include a green screen 40 by 80 column monitor. It was a 28612. Not 1200, not 12,000, 12. And you can turbo boost it to 16. 16 hertz, not megahertz. Hertz. It hurts me to say it. And let me go full screen. Luke Greenia says, love my AceMagician CK10. It's rock solid, and thank you. Right on. Always nice getting updates from people who own these to see what they're like to live with. It's one thing to review it. It's another thing to live with it sometimes. So it's nice to know that the way he's living with it is pretty much exactly the way we've showed it. Kelly Stewart. Talking about something in there. Good to see you, my friend. Kelly joins us from California. And we're doing our very first boot up here. So it's finalizing whatever they do to get Windows 11 ready for, the customer has to finalize the installation. That's pretty normal if you've ever bought a pre-built computer before. I'm a bit surprised at how long that's taking. However, Kelly Stewart says, look further back. Oh, he says he had a friend that thought he had the correct power pack, but forgot that he handed me the correct one. The one he plugged into his game console smoked when he turned it on. The power pack or the console? Because I wouldn't be surprised if the console smoked. It's a hard-learned lesson. It can be a very expensive lesson to just assume because the plug fits, you've got the right adapter. So barrel connector plugs are so commonplace these days. Very important to ensure you've got the right unit. That's why when it's brand new, that's the best time to get your label maker out. Sony does a good job. On Sony power packs, they label everything Sony, you know. Okay, finally, getting up to our setup screen. Let me go over to full screen mode on my side. It doesn't change anything for you guys. Just makes the screen bigger so I can read it. So of course we want English, and then we want United States, and we want a US keyboard layout, but no secondary language on the keyboard layout. There's the license agreement, which we have no choice but to click accept on. And I like that we don't have to use the bypass NRO. It's allowing me to create a local account, not forcing me to connect to a network first. So I just put in the name user and leave the password blank. I turn off all of the telemetry except for location settings. That way my date and time can stay accurate without me having to think about it. It'll automatically adjust for daylight saving time. And if I'm looking for a store near me, I don't have to tell it where near me is. It can tell from my location settings, right? I say, where is a CVS pharmacy near me? Otherwise, I'd have to type in, where is a CVS pharmacy near? And I suppose I could use the zip code, but that's some zip codes in Phoenix can be pretty large area. So in any event, I personally prefer to leave location settings on, but everything else on that telemetry I turn off. Now here we're at the final step of Windows 11 finishing its install process. And then we'll go ahead and plug the internet in and look for any updates. And we can also just check the device manager and make sure that all the drivers are installed correctly, that we do in fact have a TPM module, which I'm sure we do. Because that's a part of Intel CPUs ever since basically 8th gen, always been that way. And we're at an 11th gen here. Lewis wants to know the base clock speed on this. We're going to find that out here as soon as it's done with the initial Windows 11 setup. It does feel a little slow to me. I don't expect it to take this long. So I'm wondering if that's a result of the NVMe drive they're using. Because 16 gigs of RAM should be fine. and the speed of the processor should be fine. So far, it's been completely silent. And there we are at the desktop. Now I can grab the internet cable or the Ethernet cable, plug that in here, and we'll give that a second to obtain an IP address. There we go. And now I'll go to Windows Update. This is the thing you should do first thing whenever you get a brand new computer. Make sure you keep it up to date before you start using it. You don't want to leave it vulnerable to all of the exploits the updates patch, seal up. So best to prioritize this, in my opinion, get it out of the way. Now, it can multitask. We can do numerous things at the same time. So while it's looking for updates, we can go over here to the Start menu and go to the Device Manager. And we can make sure that all the devices are found and we don't have any issues in the Device Manager. It would be unacceptable to get a brand new computer from a manufacturer that's a pre-built and have devices that don't have drivers. That's not acceptable. Unless, of course, you are buying a bare bone system where you're adding your own drive and your own operating system, in which case that's on you. And it looks like we're missing a ton of updates here. So let's download and install all of them. And we'll also grab, oh, that other one went away before I could click on it. You can also hit advanced options here. Receive updates for other Microsoft products. Notify me when a restart is required. And look under optional updates. And I do see a cumulative update preview, which we can grab. It's optional, but I'll just grab all the updates. Get it all out of the way. Now, let's go back to the Device Manager. Now let's take a look at what we have for a network card, if it's 1 terabyte or 2, and if it's Intel or Realtek. So we'll go over here under Network Adapters, and it appears to be Realtek Gigabit Ethernet, so it's not 2.5. And Realtek also makes the Wi-Fi adapter. It's Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2. With regards to the Windows version, we can right-click on the Start menu and go to System. This will tell us which CPU we have. It appears to be running at 3.2 gigahertz. It recognizes the 16 gigs of RAM, 15.8 gig is usable because our onboard graphics card needs some RAM. You'll notice whenever you buy a graphics card, it comes with its own RAM. But when you're buying an integrated GPU that's built into your CPU, then those systems have to borrow from system memory. So that's what that is, if you're wondering why some of your RAM's not available. We do have Windows 11 Pro installed from the factory, version 22H2. That's what we want to see. Version 23H2 should be out probably sometime in October. And that's a big annual update. There'll be a 24H2 and a 25H2 likely. And those are big updates. That's like a whole new install of Windows that goes on top of your current install of Windows, and can take quite a while to install it. So when a manufacturer gives us 21H2, it's just very time consuming to have to update it to 22H2. And 22H2 has been out nearly a year now. So there's no excuse for manufacturers to still be selling computers with 21H2 on them. But sometimes they do. I'm glad to see that AceMagic is giving us a current version of Windows. And of course, updates will come out every second Tuesday of the month. And depending on how long it's been since this was manufactured and shipped and then eventually sent to me, well, those are the updates we have to grab. Christopher wants to know if there's any drawbacks with mini PCs. There's drawbacks with any kind of computer, whether it's a laptop, a desktop, a mini PC, a tablet, a Chromebook. They have their pros and their cons, and it's up to you, the individual making the purchase, to decide which one is right for your needs and your budget. Just like a car, you can buy a van, you can buy an SUV, you can buy an off-roader, you can buy an electric vehicle or a hybrid or a sports car or a convertible. You can buy a truck, you can buy a four-wheel drive, something you want to go off-roading in, or you can buy a four-door or a two-door sedan. There's no wrong answers. It's really about what's in your budget and how you intend to use the vehicle. Do you need something that's got a lot of power? Do you need something that's got great gas mileage? Or are you worried about the insurance cost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So there is no perfect anything. Just perfect doesn't exist. And what fits your needs is really up to you. Nobody can tell you what your needs are. So at the end of the day, it's up to you how you see the world uniquely through your eyes. You're going to give things more value or less value than the person next to you, or the hundreds of people joining us on this video. We'll all see things very differently. We won't agree 100% on all things, but if you're the one spending your hard-earned money and you need it to do certain tasks, then it's up to you to make that determination of what's going to do that at what price. Not really something we can assist you with. But there is no thing that I'm aware of that exists on the planet that doesn't have drawbacks. It's really a question of attitude and perception. And since we all have different attitudes and different perceptions, it's impossible really for anybody to give any meaningful advice that would align with your values and perceptions. Kinetic Plastic said it's so hot my cat sat in her water bowl and is now sprawled out in front of a box fan with a water-cooled belly. Cat's living the good life. All right, this update's going to take a few minutes. So while that is installing, I'm happy to address any questions you guys have if they're answerable. Can't answer if you're going to like this. Will I like this? Will this make me happy? I don't know you. No idea. I do encourage you, though, if you're curious about a mini PC, the best advice I think anybody can give you is to purchase one. And if you purchase it from Amazon, you have a 30-day free return window where there's no expense to you to return it. Then, when you've done that, come into the chat room and tell us what you thought of it. Was it the best thing ever? Was it terrible? We could send the same computer to 5 people, and 3 people think it's the best thing ever, and 2 people think it's a piece of junk. Who's right and who's wrong? So it's nice to get like a consensus, right? Overall, do more people like it or do more people hate it? Or is it 50-50 or is it overwhelmingly positive or overwhelmingly negative? We need to collect data from real end users, not from benchmarks and not from YouTube personalities. That's all meaningless nonsense. We need to hear from real people who spent their real hard-earned money and whether or not it met their expectations. And if so, what they liked about it, share their value system with us, or what they despised about it, right? And in fact, I need to change my power settings on here because it's trying to put the screen to sleep on us. Edit the power plan, and we'll change this to turn the monitor off after 3 hours. I never want to put a computer to sleep, never, ever, unless that computer has batteries. So a tablet, a laptop, those you definitely want to use sleep on. Anything that plugs in the wall, sleep is just the source of more problems than it is of being useful. I've made a lot of money fixing sleep issues, and the easiest and cheapest way to fix the sleep issues on a computer that's plugged in the wall, don't use sleep function. Just let the monitor turn off. That's your big power consumer anyway. Has anybody purchased a mini PC that they ended up not liking and sent back? Maybe that's a good place to start. And if so, how long ago was it? What was the make and model? And what was it that you didn't like about it? Because I think overwhelmingly, and from the anecdotal information I have from viewers, 85 to 90% of the viewers who buy these are very, very impressed with them. Most people have their expectations completely blown out of the water when they see how small these things truly are and just how responsive they are. It's usually better than what they thought it was going to be. Kinetic Plastics said, I have 3 mini PCs. 2 are Dell Optiplexes. They're Gen 6 i5s. He's got an Intel NUC 7th Gen i3. They all perform various tasks, and he says he loves them all. Sarge Tech said, once people see mine, they want one. Yeah, well, seeing it in person, obviously, where you can get some hands-on, he's second best to actually just buying one. But, you know, we're living in such a great time where, at least here in America, we can order from Amazon, have it brought right to our front door. All you got to do is click the mouse. And then on your own time, you have 30 days that you can send that thing back to Amazon for a full refund. And it didn't cost you a penny if you send it back. And then it almost seems like it's too good to be true. It almost seems like that's just crazy good customer service, that any hesitation about buying something is completely removed, because whatever reason you're hesitating for, you can't justify that anymore. And I don't know if Amazon will continue to do that indefinitely. But how are you going to feel if they stop the free 30-day returns? And now, let's say they don't do that anymore. Now any concern or anxiety about whether or not you should buy it is going to take a very different response. I will have a completely different response to you if that day comes. But to be able to take advantage of these deals, such a great price, you have complete peace of mind. Amazon isn't going to steal from you. You don't even need a reason for sending it back. You just could have changed your mind. At least that's how it works for Amazon Prime customers. And then come into the chat and share your experience with us once you've decided if it's a keeper or a returner and why. And that will help other people who share a similar view that you share. And then, of course, overall, a consensus from people overall. Do most people like it? Do most people not like it? And the only way we can get that very valuable and very accurate information is hearing from you about your experience. If you're looking for any reassurance about your experience, there's nothing I can tell you. There's nothing anybody can tell you. Nothing replaces experience except experience. So I would suggest, if you're that curious about it, take the plunge and give us your feedback. Greg Orsman said, Carrie, the UM790 Pro that I ordered arrived last Friday. I followed your lead. I purchased 2 Fangjing 2 terabyte NVMe's and set it up in RAID 0. I love it. It's incredible, isn't it? Just make sure you do like an Acronis image in case your RAID fails, because if either drive fails on you, and they will fail in time, nothing lasts forever, then you can just restore your image when you replace the drive. Don't expect it to fail, but be ready just in case. Hope for the best, expect the worst. I've been on my UM790, I've got I think the same setup, isn't that what I put in there? 2 Fangjing 2 terabyte drives. I can't remember which drives I used. And yeah, incredible crystal disk mark results. Nikki wants to know what brand and megahertz SODIMM would be good with the UM790 Pro. Pretty much any brand should work. I tend to buy a company called Team or Team Group, same thing. But literally any RAM being sold that meets what's already in there should work. So take a look at the megahertz of the RAM you've got now. People focus on megahertz. They really should be focusing on CAS latency, and nobody ever talks about it. But regardless, anything you buy that's, whether that's DDR4 or DDR5 that unit takes, should be fine. The more money you spend on the RAM, if you're concerned about video performance, the faster RAM with the lower CAS latency can cost twice as much. So if you're looking at RAM modules that are, let's say, $100 for 64 gigs for DDR4, you're looking at around $200 for ultra fast 64 gig DDR5. You can still find DDR5 64 gig for less money. But generally speaking, the less you're spending, the less you're getting in performance. So depending on what your budget is, buy up to your budget, what your budget will permit you to do. But as for any particular brand, it shouldn't matter. Whether it's OLLY or Crucial, Mushkin, Lexar, Corsair, Team Group, Silicon Power. Yeah, they're across the board, they work. Just the question is regarding performance, if that's important to you. As I mentioned earlier, there's a disproportionate payment for performance. The more you spend, the less value you're getting out of it. But if that's really important for you to have, let's say, 5200 speed DDR5, expect to pay about $50 more than, let's say, 4800 DDR. And whether or not you would notice it, especially if that 5200 DDR5 is at a higher CAS latency, you've just basically tilted the other way. You increased your frequency, but you dropped your latency. So yeah, I'd say buy what you can afford. I use primarily Team Group is the brand I use. Sue Cool 98 Lawrence says, Carrie, if I get a CK11, can I use a 2.5-inch SSD adapter so I can put a 1 terabyte 2280 in? No, you just plug your 1 terabyte 2280 right into the M.2 slot. Why would you use an adapter? This has an extra M.2 slot. Save your money on the adapter. This has 2 M.2 slots. Why would you want to adapt that into the 2.5-inch bay when you have a slot you can plug it right into? Lou Greenia says, Acronis is your friend. Well, they are if you pay them. Well worth it, though. Absolutely. You know, what's your data worth? If your data is not worth $30 a year, then, you know, that's from your mouth to God's ears, you know? Shane wants to know if I prefer a hardware RAID or a software RAID when I do RAIDs. It just depends on what the budget is and what the machine is, how the machine's going to be used. Anytime you can get a hardware RAID, that's obviously going to be beneficial. Hardware RAID is almost always going to give you better performance. But sometimes a hardware RAID isn't possible. Like on the mini PCs, a lot of times if you're going to do something like a software RAID with a storage pool in Windows 11, let's say, it's fine. It really doesn't matter as long as you have backups. If you're into it for the best performance possible and nothing else matters but performance, then you can only consider hardware RAID. But if you're in a mini PC where that's not a possibility, but the mini PC does support, you know, like in this case, we've got the 2 M.2 slots, we could enable storage pools and create a RAID array on here. Just would not be our boot drive in this case. So, you know, we could partition it. We could put a 2.5-inch SATA drive, make that our boot drive, and then RAID 2 M.2s together in storage pool in Windows 11, and then use that as a giant fast D drive, if you will. So there'd be no other way to accomplish that, quite frankly. So you don't really get a preference of hardware or software. You get what's available, and what's available is based on how much money you're willing to spend. And as long as you have a backup of your data anyway, it's irrelevant with regards to reliability. It's about performance. You're just going to get better performance across the board with a hardware RAID controller. Obviously, you get better performance from a discrete GPU than you would from an integrated GPU. And you get better performance from a discrete RAID than you would from an integrated RAID. Unless some motherboards do have an integrated discrete RAID. Just to muddy the waters. All right, restart is ready. Let's go ahead and restart it. And when it reboots, we'll go back to Windows Update and check again for more updates. And we repeat that until there's no more updates available. And then we can run CPU-Z or Crystal Disk Mark and see what kind of benchmarks we get out of the included storage. I don't expect it to be a screamer because, again, in order to keep the price low, they're going to get us right down the middle with everything. So a machine like this might benefit from 32 gigs of RAM rather than 16. And that would mean replacing the 2 8 gig modules with 2 16 gig modules. And then perhaps even a faster M.2 drive, but if they've got a heatsink on that one and that's not a fast one, I would be concerned about heat and making sure you buy a drive that comes with a heatsink on it. Because it looks like, well, it's hard to tell how tall of a heatsink you can get away with. Although optionally, you could put a very tall heatsink on a very fast M.2 drive and just keep that 2.5-inch drive bay out of it. And that'll give you a lot more room for a heatsink. The faster you want it to go, the more heat it's going to generate. And these little boxes, well, there's not a lot of airflow in them. So you've got to be aware of that. And if you're going to be a heavy I/O user with a high-performance drive, then sacrificing the 2.5-inch drive bay so you can have a proper meaty heatsink on your M.2 would be a sacrifice you'd have to be willing to make. But at least it's an option, right? So many PC designs, there's nothing you can do. They give you a little tiny area for your M.2. And if you put in something high performance that overheats, too bad. Mark Gaines wants to know, Carrie, can you format a 2.5-inch solid state drive outside of the PC? I have one I want to reuse. Yeah, I use a 2.5-inch drive. That's a SATA to USB adapter cable. They sell them on Amazon for right around $10, $12. And it's just a plug. It plugs into your 2.5-inch drive, and the other end is USB, and you plug that into a computer with an operating system on it, obviously. And then you would just use it as you would any other USB drive. You can format it, you can create, delete partitions, whatever you want to do. Mark Gossman wants to know if we really need a heatsink for NVMe. Well, some of you do and some of you don't. A lot of it has to do with how you're using your computer and what NVMe SSD you have. If it's a Generation 5 NVMe, they absolutely have to have a heatsink. If it's a Gen 4 high-performance NVMe, it's likely going to need a heatsink. If it's a high-end Gen 3 drive, you probably get away without a heatsink. But again, all of the information could be the other way around, depending on how you use your computer. So the answer to your question is, yes, you might, or no, you might not. It depends on you, your drive, the enclosure it's in, or the case that it's in, and how you're using it. So sometimes people are looking for answers to questions that don't have a specific universal answer. If you're looking for that kind of answer, you want to go to the world of Apple. You see, in Apple, everybody gets the same thing and everybody pays an outrageous price for it. They limit what you can do and they dictate how you can do it. And it applies the same for everyone universally. The benefit of the world of the PC is the uniqueness of choice, freedom to designing within any budget you have, whatever more important. Maybe more RAM is important to you. Maybe more storage is important to you. Maybe faster storage or faster RAM is important to you. Maybe faster RAM and faster storage with a lot of RAM and a lot of storage is important to you. So you can range the gamut from something for $50 that answers your question to $3,500 that answers your question, depending on who's asking, what their budget is, and how they intend to use the machine. So in the world of Apple, you can say what you want, and then you can pay and get the same thing everybody else gets. John Rogers said, I'm considering getting a mini PC since my older PC is 8 years old on an old 4th gen CPU. Sounds like it's time. Eugene Hidalgo joins us and says, hello. Can you run CPU-Z, please? Yeah, I will run CPU-Z here once we're through with the Windows updates, for sure. Sometimes your questions are the equivalent of asking, how much food do I need to eat until I'm full? And what should I be eating? I don't know your allergies and preferences, and I don't know how hungry you are or how much you normally eat. So these are very subjective, personal decisions each of us has to make individually. What I try and do is provide you with the information so that you can make that decision yourself. I can't make your decisions for you. Not without getting to know you a lot better. Usually a 90-minute phone consultation is what's required to determine, like on a computer build, what motherboard we use, what case, what processor, what RAM. Obviously, the budget is going to be a big factor in that, whether or not they need liquid cooling, or they're going to be overclocking, or need RGB. They need something portable, if they need something for rendering, if they need something for gaming, if they need something that's very inexpensive but reliable. It's easily a 90-minute conversation. So people pay for that. It's not something I do for free. Obviously, I don't have lots of time. So, well, people are waiting for me. They're usually waiting for me with cash in hand. And if you keep them waiting too long, they'll find somebody else that'll take their money. So when it comes to answering questions on a technical level of what the machine's capable of, I can answer those all day long. What's the performance like? What's it cost? How upgradable is it? But when it comes to how you're going to use it, what your budget is, and what your preferences are, I don't know you. So my goal here is to provide you with that information so that each and every one of you can move forward with the knowledge you've been given to make the right decision, or at least, know if you're going to buy from, say, Amazon, that you have that 30-day return policy in case you just want to experiment a little bit, try it out. All right, I want to get rid of this colorful little icon down here. That's going to be under search permissions, history. And we scroll down to search highlights. We turn that off, and that gets rid of that little cartoon down. Then we can go back to Windows Update. We'll hit retry all, and I'll turn on to automatically get updates in the background as soon as they're available, because that's pretty darn important. Greg Orsman said, Carrie, I'm testing the use of Windows 365 PC. I don't know what a Windows 365 PC is. I have accessed a 4 CPU, 16 gig, 128 gig config using an old Lenovo stick PC with pleasing success. Have you ever used one? Looks like a winner. We've reviewed some of the stick PCs from, what's that company's name? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Okay, it looks like there's no more updates. That's good. So the stick PCs, I think, are just too slow. But if you're using them, for like a streaming to the back of a TV or something, They can be very, very useful for that dedicated purpose. I wish I could think of the name of the company. We reviewed about 3 or 4 of them from these folks, and then ended up giving them to Mitch, and he's using them over at his house. He's got them plugged into his TV, and he really likes it. Let me hit YouTube and see if I can find my video. It's bugging me. I can't think of the name of it. Took a long time to start up here. Start without data, continue without data, check this box, confirm and continue, check this box, confirm, start browsing. All right, let me close it and reopen it to get all that nonsense away from the screen. Microsoft Edge is so noisy. All right. Nick Poverman said Windows 365 PC is a Microsoft cloud-based PC. So just a Chromebook, Microsoft's version of a Chromebook. Carrie, what's your opinion of the Lenovo ThinkCentre range of mini PCs? It's from Mark Jones. I prefer the HP line. I think of the mini PCs, HP makes the best. Lenovo makes the second best, and Dell makes the third. So Dell's in last place, Lenovo's kind of in the middle. If I'm purchasing one, I'm going to purchase an HP. Let's see. Let's go to YouTube. Let's type in Carrie Holzman stick PC. Stick. 4K stick. Oh man, I can't believe I can't think of the name of that company. It's not right. Huh. Let's go to my channel. Let's go to videos. Let's look for stick. Azul. That's what I couldn't think of. All right, Azulle. So yeah, we reviewed a couple of those. Not my personal preference, nothing I even support, but very interesting to review. And again, for like having a home theater PC, something like that, it's adequate, though they're very, very slow. So yeah, Azul. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. It wasn't coming to me. All right, let's get back to it. Let's go back over to my flash drive that I just plugged in, and let's copy over a couple of the utilities here. So we'll grab, see, I always put VLC on here. PC testing software, I want Crystal Disk Mark Portable. And let's see, CPU Z, copy that over. And we'll copy over Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 Optimizer, which is sold by D7X Tech for all of $7. The link for that is in the video description below this video. I'm going to then eject. Nope, got ejected out of there. And we'll run the optimize. Greg says, when using a stick PC to access a Windows 365 PC, the performance is every bit as satisfying as a modern, powerful desktop PC. Well, Greg, I think you're making some assumptions that people all universally have a fast internet connection. I assume that the speed of your internet connection is heavily going to weigh on your perception of performance. However, also depending on how you're using the computer, may not be very usable for some people depending on the type of work that they're doing. So again, depending on what your expectations are and what your budget is, you could be thoroughly impressed with a very limited computer like what you're describing. Because if you're not using much more than that on a desktop, it's a waste of money to be buying a full desktop if you don't need it. But on the other hand, if you do need it, you'll be very disappointed by the limitations of an online operating system. So to each their own. I'm glad to hear that you're happy with it and it's meeting your needs clearly. Old Man 55 says, do you still use the Intel Driver Assistant? Occasionally, if I have an Intel-based system, I'll use it. System like this, we can download and install it. Lately, it hasn't been too useful because most of the updates are coming through Windows Update correctly. But it costs you nothing. If you want to download it and install it, have at it. There's no harm in it. Just a personal choice. If I don't need to put it on, then I'm not going to put it on. That's true of any piece of software. Okay, let's take a look at CPU-Z and we'll see what the specs are on this system here. Okay, everything about our CPU here. Tiger Lake, Core i5. Seems like it's idling about 1.5 gig. Over to the motherboard settings, we don't get a lot of information here except maybe about our BIOS. Over to memory, we can see the specifications of the DDR4 RAM, including its CAS latency, which we were talking about. And then under the serial presence device on the RAM, we get all of the detailed specifications of the RAM settings. That's the RAM in slot 1, and that's the RAM in slot 2. You obviously want those to match, and they've got 3200 speed in there now. That's just our onboard graphics, which of course are the Intel Iris graphics built into the CPU. So no surprises there. Yeah, it is an 11th gen. You know it's 11th gen because the first two numbers of the processor is the generation. Well, let me rephrase. Anything above the number 9. So if it's the number 9 or below, it's the first number of the CPU model. That's the generation. And when you look at 10 something, 11 something, 12 something, 13 something, that's specifying your generation. So right in the title of the video, you should have known this was an 11th gen looking at the title. Rick Ash says, Kerry, sorry, I haven't been here in a while. Been busy at work. Glad to see you're doing well. I miss your builds. Next time you do a build, let me know and I'll try to be here. Be sure to do that. Thanks for hanging out with us, Rick. There's only 383,000 subscribers. Let me just make a note to let you know. Turn your notifications on and then you can be made aware like everybody else when new videos are going live and what the subject of that video is. We'd love to have you here, but I'm not going to reach out and grab you, okay? Let's see. I was scrolling through the chat here. Greg said he's got a Lenovo Stick 300. Paul Patterson said it's not like a Chromebook. A Windows 365 is a cloud-based virtual PC. Oh, okay. It's nothing that I use in my business, nor anything that my clients have requested or inquired about. So it's all news to me. And again, it depends on how people use their computer, what their budget is. It seems weird to me that someone would spend more on their internet connection than they do on the computer, but you know, to each their own. Let me close this out and let's go over to Crystal Disk Mark and we'll see what kind of performance we're getting out of the included NVMe. Sorry. We'll just run all the tests right now and we'll see what kind of numbers. I'm expecting probably around 4,000 to 5,000 on the reads and probably closer to 4. Ooh, it's worse than I thought. I wonder if that's Gen 3. Because when you're seeing these read numbers at 3,600 or 3,500 and below, that's usually Gen 3 speeds. So at the very least, we have a Gen 3 NVMe drive. Now, is that plugged into a Gen 3 socket on the motherboard, or is it plugged into a Gen 4 socket? I don't know. The Gen 3 is the standard right up until about the 11th gen chips from Intel. That's when the option of Gen 4 drives became available. So we'd have to grab a Gen 4 drive and plug it in and see if we still get Gen 3 speeds. If we do, then we know the plug is a Gen 3 plug, and no matter what we plug into it, Gen 4, Gen 5, it's going to run it. It's like USB. You can have a very fast USB 3.0 drive, but you plug it into a USB 2 port, it's only going to run at USB 2 speeds. Ondog said he's running an 11th gen Intel processor on his Big Beast build. I don't know what his Big Beast build is. Douglas Burchell say, do the mini PCs you give away come with Carrie's Windows 10 optimizer? No. When I give out the PCs, I will optimize them. But if people just want to keep taking from me, then obviously I need to cut that off at some point and say, you know, look, we've covered the shipping, we've sent you a PC. If you want the optimizer, it's $7. You know, give you an opportunity to give back. I don't include the optimizer generally because I feel like there are some people in this world that'll keep taking until they've taken everything you've got. So, and I hate to say no, but at some point I just say, you know, we've been generous enough. And if people want it, they can spend the $7 and support the channel. Right? I don't think it's a big ask. But I do run it before I send it out. Douglas says, I'm going to purchase it. Well, I appreciate that, Douglas. The link for it is in the video description below every video I do, including this one. Londog said he was trying to bring a little humor. It's my full-size desktop computer, nowhere near the main machine you built for Doug Betts. Shamim Kajveras wants to know, do you plan to make more reviews on SSD NAS devices like the Asus FlashStore 6? I should have a Synology, I think it's the DS224 that just got released, which is a 2-drive NAS. That review will come up next. It appears the FlashStore 6 and FlashStore 12 are sold out everywhere. So I think that's interesting. The only other NAS I'm aware of that will take NVMe SSDs is made by QNAP, and they want $600 for it, which I think is way overpriced. And it only takes 4 NVMe SSDs, and the reviews on it are not looking good. So between the reviews, the limited number of SSDs, and the price, I'm not aware of any others. Are there other NVMe NAS devices besides the QNAP and the FlashStore? I've been very, very impressed with that FlashStore 6. The reason I know it's sold out is because I was going to buy another one, and you just can't find them any. Well, you can find them for about $100 over retail, but it should be about $450. New eggs out of them, Amazon's out of them. Mark Jones said, Gary, I just bought the AMD chipset notifier. It's very useful. Right on. Thanks, Mark. That should help keep your system secure and high performing and reliable. And that's another tool that I've collaborated with the folks over at d7xtech.com that I used myself. It was just a need I had because AMD would come out with new driver updates and I wouldn't know for 3 months. Then I put it on and all of a sudden the AMD system is running better. And I'm like, gee, I wish I would have known about this 3 months ago. So hence the notifier got made. All right, so the numbers, the final numbers we're looking at on this NVMe SSD are, yeah, they're pretty middling, mid-range Gen 3 numbers. So they're not bad and they're not great. But again, you could spend $300, the entire cost of this machine, just buying one fast NVMe drive. So, you know, taking into consideration how much it costs, if that's important to you, then you spend the money. And if it's not important to somebody else, they're not being forced to buy something that they don't need. So that's the beauty of the mini PC versus, you know, the world of Apple, where everybody gets the same thing at the same price. So let me shut this down and let's grab an NVMe drive. Go over here. Full screen on camera 1. Let's grab a Gen 4 NVMe drive. So back here, I should have one I can use that's already been opened. I think, maybe not. No, these are all Gen 3. Oh, I think it's going to be a Fangine drive that I'm going to use because that might be all I have on Gen 4. Just double checking my list here. Samsung 980s, I think, are Gen 3 drives. Yeah, those are Gen 3. Wait a minute, what's a 980 Pro? Is that Gen 4? Yes, this is Gen 4. Let's try a 980 Pro in there because it's got a heatsink on it. So something like this might be an ideal upgrade in a mini PC where you're worried about heat. You can see it comes with its own heatsink already attached. This is a 1 terabyte model, so it's very affordable, and that'll give us twice the capacity, and if this is Gen 4, twice the speed. If we plug this in and we get same speeds, then we know it's a Gen 3 socket on the motherboard. I wish there was a way I could look at the device manager and tell. So Gen 4, you can get up to 7,400 megabytes per second on a high-performing drive and around 5,000 on a mid-grade drive, Gen 4. So I guess I'm going to open this back up again. First, we're going to unplug power just to be safe, and I'll take my dongle out of the front so I can. So, oh, I guess I got to pull these cables out because they're going to get in the way of the back of it. So we'll take this back off. So. I'm going to take a 4 terabyte to an 8 terabyte NVMe. Can't see why not. Anything NVMe, as long as the drive itself will fit, some of the enclosures or the insides of the mini PCs are very restricted. And the 8 terabyte drives are pretty thick and may not physically fit. But as far as will they work technically, universally the answer is yes without exception. If it's running Windows 10 or Windows 11, especially if it's running Windows 11, If it's got an NVMe slot, yeah. I've never found one yet that won't run a 4 terabyte or an 8 terabyte. So the answer by default is always yes. Problem is, of course, if it will fit in there. So looking in here, I can see another slot. You know, just for grins and giggles and to do this as quickly as possible, I'll just plug this into the other slot and we can partition format it and run a speed test on it. But we don't know that both slots are rated the same. Assuming they are, but this is a very quick, faster way to get the answer for at least the second slot. And then looking at the height of this with the heatsink on it, I can also see if it's going to be a problem for installing it. The heatsink appears to be approximately the same height as the other heatsink on the other unit, so we should be just fine there. The screwdriver is a little bit big for getting into that spot. I think I need a narrower screwdriver for this, so let me go get my precision drivers here. Keep them on the floor under a stack of other precision drivers. That should make it a little easier for us to get into that little spot here. Oh yeah, right tool makes all the difference. There we go. And I guess I can just leave it open. I don't need to put it all back together. Plug power in. Plug our video in. Plug our network in. And then I can plug the keyboard and mouse back in. Turn this back on, and then we'll go back over to our HDMI input on OBS. Guess I'll just put myself in the corner again. Go full screen over here so I can see. And then we'll type disk management right down here in the search window. Disk MA, oh, right there. Create and format hard disk partitions is what we're looking for. Should come up and notice we have a new drive installed, and it has not. So that suggests to me that that other drive what is this disk one? Removable. Wouldn't be removable. Something USB? Huh, I don't know what that is. So it is not detecting that drive in the other M.2 slot. So that other M.2 slot may be SATA only. It's interesting if that's what they've done here. So let's shut this back down. And then we'll go back over to camera 1 full screen. Plug power again. This time, we'll take out the main boot drive here, like so. And I will move over the Samsung drive into the slots that our main drive was attached to. This screw back. And we will put Samsung drive in there. It is so the frame across the top does get it a little bit tight with regards to getting the screw tightened down for the NVMe drive. Wish this part right here. Wish this wasn't so thick, or I wish this piece came off just so we'd have easier access. It's not impossible, obviously. It's just slight obstruction, but easy enough to work around. Just would prefer not having it there at all. Now this time what I'll do is put power back in it. This is not going to be bootable without installing Windows on it. So I've got a Windows 11 installer here. We can quickly install Windows 11 on this, run the test and see what it does. So let's go back over to HDMI input. And now it should boot from the flash drive. DIY Dash says at that $300 price point, I would guess it's Gen 3. See, that's very logical to me, and I would tend to agree. Asking for it to be Gen 4 may be asking a bit much, but I don't want to assume anything. I mean, it was sent to me for review, so review it. I'm not getting anything out of it right now. That's interesting. It does not seem to like this Samsung NVMe drive. Should be backwards compatible to Gen 4, so that really shouldn't be a problem. But let me unplug it one more time here. Give it a second. In. And turn it back on and see if it's any happier. It's doing something. It's also possible it doesn't like my flash drive. Let me unplug it one more time. Let's try it without the flash drive plugged in and see if it's any happier. Of course, there's nothing to boot to, but I still want to see a power on self-test. It may be that I'm being impatient. I need to let it do whatever it's doing and time out. Or what it's doing, never mind, there it is. Okay, so there's our BIOS, in case you were curious what that looks like. Pretty straightforward, not a whole lot you can change in here. Once again, at that $300 price point, this is not a customizable toy that is the equivalent of a $1,000 custom-made PC. If you want that, you need to pay for that. So do have reasonable expectations, and you won't be disappointed. All right, let me try the flash drive plugged into the front here and see if it likes that any better. All right, so it's off. Let's turn it back on. See if we have any better behavior out of it now. It's better. And now it should boot from that Windows 11 boot drive, which it's doing. Very good. And I have to go full screen so I can see what's going on over here. Next. Install now. Accept the license agreement. Custom. Okay. It does not see our, oh no, that's right. That's a 1 terabyte drive. That's right. Okay. There we go. Now it's going to partition and format that new Samsung drive. Copy over our Windows 11 installation files. My tablet is acting up. That's working. Ben Laird contributes £5, says, hello, all from Scotland. We go. Now we're ready for our first boot. I'm rebooting my tablet since it's just acted like it wasn't getting internet anymore. So when it rains, it pours, I guess, huh? Mike Visions contributes £5 and says, hello all from Manchester. Welcome in, Mike. Good to see you. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. That's better. Okay. And what I've missed here. We're waiting on this. I think I've cut all the configurations. Check my phone while I'm waiting. Susan Lawrence sent $20 via PayPal. Right on. Thank you, Sue Lawrence. Okay. I'm gonna grab a colder Gatorade. This one's got room temperature on me, and it's getting hot. Getting hot in here. Yeah, I got one I put back in the fridge yesterday. That should be colder by now, don't you think? Think it's been in there long enough to chill back down? Oh, we get this fun part here. Let me go full screen so I can see what it says. Full screen. Okay, United States, yes. Layouts. Secondary layout, no. Oh, you know what? I don't want it plugged into the network. Silly me. That'll time out. Driver putting in the 980 Pro with a heatsink. That's worthy of consideration because in a mini PC because of the low profile heatsink on it. Some of these have a much thicker heatsink. In the case of like Western Digital's SN850 with the heatsink on it, it makes it a little bit wider. and it won't fit in some mini PCs because of the way they've designed the slot that the M.2 drive goes in. So be aware of that, but also know if you order from Amazon, if something like that should happen, you have 30 days to return it regardless. So once again, you don't need any anxiety or concern of, spending money unnecessarily. You can always get that money refunded if it doesn't work out. All right, and this is going to take a while for it to eventually realize it's not plugged into the network anymore. So we just have to patiently wait this one out. That was my bad. I should have pulled that out earlier, but I still caught it in time. Is that a watched pot never boils? I'm gonna step away for a second while we're waiting for this. Just want to check and see if a package was dropped off. Nope, not today, I guess. Not my day for expecting package today. Let's see. We want to retry it. You've lost your internet. Let's go back. Okay. Let's connect. This is my copy of Windows, which I don't have the bypass hard coded in there. So Shift F10, click on the window, type in OOBE / bypass NRO. Then it'll reboot, and then this time it'll allow us to skip the network requirement and create a local user account. When 23H2 comes out of Windows 11, I will probably customize that one. I'm not going to spend the time to do it to this build, only to turn around and have to redo it again. So I don't do it often enough to justify that investment of time. But when the new version comes out, it would make sense for me to spend a little bit of time to customize that one. But still might change my mind. We'll see. So we have to go through the initial setup one more time. So United States, US, skip. Now I have the option, I don't have internet. Tell it twice, continue with limited setup. Now I can create that local user account, which we'll just call user, and it can finalize. Oh, sorry, I got to turn all this off again. There we go. Now it can finalize. Now, as far as testing our drive speed, no drivers are required. That's all inherent into Windows, so we can simply copy over Crystal Disk Mark and run it. There will be no drive performance increase as a result of a driver unless we're using a special controller like a RAID controller or a non-default controller. So we don't need to spend time loading video drivers and chipset drivers and everything because that will not impact our drive performance, just so you know. Now, if I was planning on keeping this drive in, then obviously I'd want to put all the drivers on it. However, I'm pretty sure this is going to be Gen 3 based on the price. So if we see 3600 or less on our drive performance, it's going to be Gen 3 for sure. So let me just disconnect the, or remove rather, the Windows 11 install media here, and then we'll plug in our utilities flash drive. Once again, copy over Crystal Disk Mark software. Which is right here, Crystal Disk Mark. That's what I want, the portable version. Yeah. Let's go ahead and take that. 64-bit version of this. And we only need to do these two top tests. In fact, if that first number comes up at 3600 or below, we don't need to run the test any further. This drive is capable, if it's plugged into a compatible Gen 4 slot, of over 7,000 megabytes per second. So the fact that we're seeing a 3429, it does confirm to us this is a Gen 3 M.2 slot. Now, it doesn't answer for us what the second M.2 slot is, and I don't know if this is covered in the manual at all. But in previous experience, they've not talked about it. And you don't really see it mentioned on the product page, you know, on Amazon. Yeah, this is like instructions on how to use the Visa mount in numerous languages over and over and over again. So that's not helpful. And as to this other slot in here, it may be SATA only. So while we're in here, we can go ahead and close this out. Oh, wrong mouse. Close this out. And then shut this down. Let me find a SATA drive, M.2 drive, to plug in there. Should have one back here on the parts shelf somewhere. It's right on top. I've got an old Western Digital blue SATA drive. It's like 2 terabytes. Yeah, they make 2 terabyte SATA drives, M.2. And full power. Take this screw out. Put in the 2 terabyte SATA. Okay. And then plug in the network as well. Turn it back on. See what happens. Are mini PCs easy to clean like desktop PCs? That's what Cat Sounds wants to know. Oh, they're much easier to clean because there's not as much there. Pretty much, you don't even have to open them to clean them. You can simply use an air duster and blow through the open vents on all 4 sides. You're done. There's no reason to even open it up. All right, let's now go back to this management here. should auto detect drive is installed. It does, which it did not do before because it was NVMe. Now it's SATA. So that second M.2 slot appears to be SATA only, and it is a 2 terabyte drive. And we can just go ahead and create a new partition and format it very quickly here. And on this drive, you can expect speeds of a maximum 550 megabytes per second. And we can verify that now. Change this to drive D. We'll just do the 2 top tests. And that will test that Western Digital SATA 2 terabyte drive I've just installed. I expect it to be around 550. Yeah, we're close to 560. All right, so we know that it's got 2 M.2 slots. The first one is a Gen 3 NVMe. The second one is an M.2 SATA only. So it totally makes sense at the $300 price point that you're not getting Gen 4, nor are you getting 2 Gen 3s, right? Because all of that costs more money. So be sure that you have proper expectations of what you're paying for and what you're getting in exchange for that. Nobody's giving away anything for free. Nobody's ripping anybody off in these cases. You know, in the machines I've been showing you, you're not getting ripped off by any of these companies. Some companies might fall short in the way of support. That remains to be seen. I've had very good interactions with the folks at AceMagician, for whatever that's worth, as well as B-Link and Miniswarm. As to the other companies, I can't really say because those machines have all just worked. The only one we had problems with was a company named Chuwi, C-H-U-W-I. So pretty leery of them because of their behavior and the way the machine was sold. But that's pretty rare. Like when you look at what's available to purchase, the vast majority of these companies are on the up and up as far as what they're selling you and what you're getting. It's a fair price for what you're getting. If you want more, spend more. Extra costs extra. For most people, this is more than enough for a regular family-based computer, right? Used for everything from surfing the web, paying bills, checking email, going on social media, watching Netflix. All that is way more than capable as a home theater PC. In fact, a little over the top for that. Well, at the same time, you've got Windows 11 Pro. That keeps you current, updated, and secure throughout the Windows 11 life cycle, whereas Windows 10 life cycle ends in October of 25. So you still have a little over 2 years left of Windows 10. And so if you're running an older machine and you're thinking of upgrading it, you definitely want one that's going to be Windows 11 compatible. And the fact that you can get a machine this capable at this price, it's an incredible deal. So I appreciate the folks at AceMagician sending it so we can evaluate it. It's a $300 computer, and it's exactly a $300 computer. I think you'd be hard pressed to find something better than this at $300. The fact it's got dual channel memory, it's got 16 gigs, and it's got that NVMe, pretty standard 512 gig drive is pretty standard, but getting the dual channel memory, not so standard, and having that second M.2 slot, even if it is just SATA, is also not standard. So you're getting a little extra. I also like the 2 HDMI ports on the back. I think that's, in the consumer space, it's the most common type of monitor connector people are using, even if they're connecting to their television, it's that HDMI. So the fact you've got 2 of those means you don't have to get any adapters. And if you wanted to get an old VGA monitor hooked up, you've still got that VGA port off to the side. So if you've got a 15 or 20-year-old monitor that still uses that, you can save money by not having to replace your monitor. And you can save money by not having to get some fancy adapter to try and convert that digital signal to an analog. It's already part of the PC, which at this level is pretty unusual. So I don't know. I mean, decide for yourself, you know, if that offers a value to you or to somebody you might know that might appreciate it. Overall, you know, if I was going to add storage to this, I would just do it externally through USB. I would not open it up and replace the internal storage. And the reason for that is I would be very concerned with heat. So I think leave the 512 in it and just get yourself an external SSD, that you can plug into USB. It's just way more portable, much easier to back that stuff up. And at the end of the day, there's no risk, where if you open this up and you drop the screw and you can't find it, you can have the screwdriver slip and accidentally break it. And that's not a warranty issue. But, that's up to you to decide. If you want to fill it with a 2.5-inch drive and you want to put an M2 SATA and you want to upgrade the main, you certainly can. And you will certainly spend more money in doing that than what this machine cost. So that's what you were thinking. I would just buy a more expensive machine so you didn't have to do all that. But to each their own, decisions. Choose accordingly. All right. So let's see if there's any last questions I can answer. I'll be happy to do my best to provide an answer regarding the specifications of the machine. Is there anything I haven't answered? Let me go full screen on camera 1 here. There I am. Gilberto says, Carrie, you're a great reviewer. Enjoyed this review. Right on, Gilberto. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Can you RAID NVMe and SATA together? You would really significantly slow down your NVMe drive if that were possible. When we look at something like storage pools in Windows, it can let you do funky things like that, but why would you want to? Why would you want to slow down your NVMe drive? I don't understand. It's not a question of whether or not you can. The real question I have is, why would you do that? You want less performance and less reliability? Oh, Nick wasn't asking. Somebody else was asking. I see. Well, whoever's asking, I'd want to know what it is you're trying to accomplish. Like, what would you do? You're talking about like a RAID 1 mirror, or you're talking about a RAID 0 striped array? Regardless, you'd be cutting the machine off at its knees as far as your I/O performance goes, and you'd be increasing the likelihood of a failure by 2-fold. So even if it were possible, I think it'd be a very, very unwise thing to do. I would add any storage externally. That's what I would do. Andy wants to know, what size USB drive do I use for my utilities? These are 16 gigs, I think. Yeah, that's a 16 gig for the Windows 10 and Windows 11 installers. Yeah, they're all 16 gig SanDisk Extremes. They don't make them anymore, but yeah, I don't use very many utilities. System utilities are really the scourge of the entire PC industry. It gives regular consumers who aren't well educated about computers this false sense of data acquisition that results in any level of accuracy or value. So when I'm running utilities, it's really only 3 or 4 utilities I run, and they're always portable. Any other utility is likely just a type of spyware, or it's a type of nonsenseware where they're simply trying to give you the sense of value that you should be buying it, so it can tell you about your computer, when it's telling you about your computer's already telling you. So if I were you, I would avoid system utilities with the 3 or 4 that I use as an exception: CPU-Z, Crystal Disk Mark, on occasion Crystal Disk Info. My optimizer I use, of course, if I had an AMD, having the AMD chipset notifier is useful. But with regards to other system utilities, you shouldn't need a big flash drive because you shouldn't be relying on them. They are all completely unnecessary. I've never seen a system utility that I couldn't replace with something already built into Windows. For example, I could be doing the drive speed tests by just running the drive speed test built into Windows. I could be doing RAM tests instead of using memtest86 which is on its own flash drive. I can use Windows built-in memory test. Debating over which one's more accurate over another depends on what you're testing for and how often you're using it. If you're in business like I am, and your job is to diagnose multiple computer problems every day with no two ever really being alike, these kind of utilities can come in useful, statistically speaking, based on the scale of work that I'm getting. As a home user with one computer, if you're just curious, well, it's your system, and if you want to load it with unnecessary crap for useless information, don't let me get in your way. But replicating what you're seeing me doing is really no good to you for the most part, unless you're in business to repair computers or you're making YouTube videos. People will know if a system's running right based on how it feels. Overall, someone will say, it feels slow, something's wrong. And then you can pursue trying to fix that. But if you're not having any problems and you're just downloading utilities looking for a problem, you will likely create a problem. But, it's your time on this planet if that's how you want to squander it. Don't let me get in your way. Kinetic Plastic says, I sent you a little something. All right, well, we'll check the phone here before we wrap things up. And once again, just another opportunity in the few minutes remaining. If you have a question for me, I'll do my best to provide you an honest and direct answer, as I always do. Yes, $10 from Kinetic Plastic. He says, here's a little something to help you out. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, Kinetic Plastic. Thank you for helping to support the channel here. Andy Kane said, just so I'm prepared for fixing other people's PCs. Yeah, that's not possible. You can't be prepared to fix problems when you don't know what those problems are going to be or what kind of hardware they're going to be on. You can't buy every tool and have every utility to cover every possibility. Good luck finding it if there's so many utilities. So I see this happen all the time, and this always happens from people who don't work in the field. They oversimplify the complexities of PC repair and the variety and scale of PC repair. As such, it's impossible for you to be ready. What you need to do is actually get a system to repair. That's the first thing. Forget every system utility, forget every tool. None of that has any value to you and is a complete waste of time. Coming from a real computer technician, if you seriously are considering wanting to fix other people's computers, get a computer to fix. That's where you have to start. Any sort of system utility or tool will be specific to the machine you're fixing. And since there's so many thousands and combinations of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of different types of hardware, laptops, desktops, mini PCs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, being prepared is impossible. You just have to be willing to take on the work. So the work, it's sort of like you're working on a cover of a book you haven't started writing. And it's just a complete waste of time because most people will never actually write the book. Just like a lot of people that collect utilities and tools will never actually work on anybody's computer but their own. So the reality of it is that until you actually have a machine to work on, you won't know what utilities or tools you're going to need. And therefore, without a crystal ball, any sort of effort you put towards that is a complete waste of time. But it is your time, and if you want to waste it, don't let me get in your way. Doman says a bootable WinPE repair environment is essential to always have at hand. So if you look at all my utilities, and I've been in the industry over 30 years, you will find 0 bootable Windows PE environment. I do not use them for repair, and I can't imagine why anybody would. However, this is an example of the kind of repair that you get in and the kind of tools you're going to need. Based on my 30 years in the industry and based on the type of work that I collect, I have no need for such a tool to accomplish the jobs that I'm given the tasks that I have to sort. I don't have that tool. Don't have one. If I had it, I would spend time making it and never use it. And that would be time I could be spending making money. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you what tools are essential when I don't know what kind of work you're going to be doing on what kind of hardware. So, you know, to each their own. There's a wide variety of kinds of repairs. There's software repairs, hardware repairs, operating system repairs on a wide variety of hardware. Not to mention we get into networking and cable testing, and you know, it's a bottomless pit. So when you find yourself getting the work, you might find that based on where you are or just the timing involved, you're getting a bunch of Apple computers in for repair. And if you want to be in business, you better learn how to fix them. I got into laptop repair because that was what was available. I didn't go seeking it out. I was just fixing computers. And before you know it, I was specializing in laptops. And so I needed tools specifically designed for opening laptops, but I could have never saw that coming. So you've got to be available, right, for opportunity. You don't necessarily have to be ready. You have to be available and be willing. Because all the tools in the world are not going to get you the work. All the utilities in the world are not going to get you the work. And nothing is replacing the human brain when it comes to the diagnostic procedure. There's not a tool I use that can replace me. Not yet, anyway. Old Man 55 says, a bootable Acronis. Well, I do have an Acronis rescue disk, but I use that for mostly for cloning. So system upgrades, things like that. But if you're not getting customers asking you to do that, there'd be no point in you having it unless you need it for your own personal use. But, you know, again, there's not one single utility that I could recommend to a technician given the variety of work that's available and, you know, what work you're willing to do. Sometimes there's a lot of work available. People don't want to do it. I think with Windows 10 and Windows 11 being as self-repairing as they are, relying on Windows boot disk just isn't the way it was back prior to, say, Windows 7. People fail to realize just how far the operating system has evolved. You can see how our storage has evolved. You can see how Wi-Fi has evolved in such a little period of time. But to continue treating the operating system as though it has not also evolved massively in the same period of time, I think is a gross misjudgment on behalf of a technician that is holding on to old ways. But that's just my opinion. I think you really need to understand and embrace what the operating system allows you to do now that defeats the purpose for most of the utilities. But those utilities years ago you almost couldn't be a technician without them. But these days, with regards to Windows 10 and 11, nearly every utility out there is already built into Windows 10 and 11. So, you know, sometimes people learn something and they stick with it regardless. That's fine. If that's how they want to do it, that's their choice. I like to try and stay on top of things. And like I said, I could use the speed test for performance of the I/O of the drive built into Windows. I just prefer not to. And I always use portable utilities, so I'm not leaving anything behind. But that's just my philosophy as a tech. And the beauty of being a tech is you can do it any way you want. As long as you're meeting your customers' expectations and you're generating work, that's all that matters. You don't have to answer to anybody but your customers. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for me for today. My thanks again to AceMagic for sending us the CK11 for review. Overall, I think it's a very good machine for $300. I think you'd be hard pressed to find something more capable and better performing at this price point, and get them while they're on sale, what I can say. If you buy it from Amazon, again, I can't emphasize enough the peace of mind that you have that you can send it back within 30 days, at least if you're an Amazon Prime customer, and it'll cost you nothing, not a cent. And then you can evaluate it on your own. Almost universally, the people who have received mini PCs, whether they were giveaways or whether they went out and bought them, have been blown away by just how capable they are. Not sure the video truly conveys it, but I also don't know you personally, right? So I don't know if you're going to be in line with everybody else or if what everybody else is doing isn't good enough for you. If that's the case, the only way you can know is for you to try it. And then if you do, let us know what your experience was, and we can help others to gauge whether or not they should try it or they should avoid it. My thanks to everybody who's contributed today, and that includes earlier with our friend Frankie B with that Zelle contribution. Also, thank you to Kinetic Plastic for his PayPal contribution, Susan Lawrence for your PayPal contribution, Peter Laycock with his PayPal contribution, Ron Barnish sent an Amazon gift card, Paul O'Brien sent an Amazon gift card, Brian Kirby sent a PayPal contribution, our good friend Kelly Stewart sent an Amazon gift card, Avery Ramstorff sent an Amazon gift card, and Sarge Tech sent an Amazon gift card. And then with regards to the Super Chat contributions, another shout out to these kind and generous individuals. That includes Mike Visions, Ben Laird, Louis Grego, Paul O'Brien, Planet Cryos, Avery Ramstorff, Planet Cryos again, Mark Gaines, Planet Cryos again, Rick Lakes, Alan Lindas, our good friend Buster, and Paul O'Brien with the first contribution via Super Chat. Paul O'Brien also renewed his membership, and Douglas Burchell as well. Thanks, you guys, for being members, for supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for your kindness and your friendship. I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon, likely Thursday, I think. I'm not sure I'm going to have time on Wednesday. I still have more machines to prep and ship out. I got 2 shipped yesterday. I got 4 more to go. And I have a couple errands I have to run on Wednesday. So yeah, I don't think there'll be a show tomorrow. However, I will try to be live on Thursday. I'm always live every Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And I'm always live for members only every Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And then throughout the week and the weekend, if time permits, I will either post a video with a premiere or I go live as time permits. Still working as a technician so I can help cover the difference that it costs to make these videos versus what YouTube pays. So it's a passion I have to share what my experience, to share my knowledge with the audience. It's definitely no way I'm getting rich, but I'm hoping something will happen at some point. I mean, it's only been since 2008 that I started this YouTube channel. So I'm sure any day now, big success awaits. That's all right. I have a good time doing it, and that's what's important. And I enjoy hanging out with you guys. So thanks for your kindness. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks, everybody in blue. Oh, I see Mitch Morrison joined us. Welcome in, Mitch. Yeah, thanks you guys for keeping it civil in the chat room. My blue moderators like to make sure we don't have to deal with the bots and the trolls. I appreciate that very much. If your name is in white, know that I will turn you blue if I start to recognize you. Like if you're appearing in the chat room often and you're being friendly, I'll turn you blue so I acknowledge that you're a regular, right? Not irregular, you're a regular viewer. And that way, because we have so many viewers, it can be hard to remember who's who. It helps me to know who is being kind and supportive and showing a history of that. And that's all you have to do to be turned blue. If you see the gold badge next to people's names, that's because they're supporting the channel through something called memberships. It's $9.99 a month, and they get videos, specifically live videos just for members only. They're only for members only. And more importantly, it helps me to be able to avoid making big commercials from large corporations of motherboards and et cetera, like the other big tech channels do. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be a corporate spokesperson. I don't want to be a media group. I want to be a technician sharing my experience. And I want to be able to be honest with you about how I feel about something, regardless of whether or not I have a paycheck at stake. You know, if I'm honest, it'll upset the sponsor and then they won't sponsor me anymore. I don't want to be put in that position. And so your contributions and your memberships help keep me independent so I can maintain my integrity and share with you my perspective of my values of what I think something is great, what I think something is bad. There's no incentive for me to tell you something's good or bad financially. I just tell you what I like, tell you what I don't like, and there's no negative or positive consequences either way. So you can be sure that whether or not you agree with me, well, that's not related, but at least my opinion is not being guided through money, right? If a company's paying me the kind of money they pay a media group, it's millions of dollars. We're not doing that here, and I don't ever intend to. So if you appreciate that, well, then you found the right place, because that's how we've always done it. As far as I'm concerned, that's how I always will. Thank you again for hanging out. I'll see you all likely on Thursday at 1 o'clock if all goes well. Until next time, bye for now.